Good day, everyone. I am Timothy Lawson, Chief of Digital Media here at the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I am excited about today's discussion. I'm joined by Mike Sullivan, Executive Director of Team RWB. Mike, thank you so much for dropping by. I know you have a busy schedule here in DC, but I knew when someone told me you were going to be in town, I knew I wanted to talk to you because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to wellness in the veteran space and serving veterans.
Absolutely. No, it's great to be here. Any opportunity to talk about RWB and taking care of veterans is I'm all in.
Yeah. I think anybody who's been a part of Team RWB, whether it's the running with the community or being a part of fitness, once you're used to wearing that red Team RWB shirt, you got the eagle.
Yeah.
When you see it out in the wild, you almost want to be like, oh hey, like meet, like you almost want to you feel like you know them, right? In a way, like at the airport, I'll see the eagle and I have to say something.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But yesterday, I was talking to I was exchanging texts with a friend, and he expressed some he's active duty. He expressed a little bit of loneliness in his new duty station, and I was like, hey, have you heard of Team RWB? And he said no. And I feel I'm probably a little too close to the sun. I was almost surprised, right?
Yeah.
But I quickly looked like there was a chapter maybe like a half hour away from him.
Yeah.
But for those that are watching this, who's Team RWB? They didn't recognize the name on the title of the video. They don't know who Sully is, right? What do you say to people who have not heard or are unfamiliar with Team RWB about what the organization does and why it's valuable to veterans?
Yeah, that's an incredible question. And unfortunately, there's more folks out there like your friend than we would hope for, right? That don't know who Team Red, White, and Blue are, or who what we stand for, Team RWB. And again, for us, it's all about a veteran service organization made by veterans to serve those that have served through physical fitness, holistic health and wellness, and all tied together through community. So what does that mean, Sully? So you kind of mentioned it. A lot of people think, oh, I've seen those red shirts with the eagle on it. That's that big veteran running club. That's part of what we do.
Yeah.
But the real goal, and it's always been the goal, is to enrich veterans' lives. And we do it by forging the leading health and wellness community for veterans in America. So it's locally based through a chapter of volunteers, like the one you found similar to where your friend's at, 150 of those nationwide, all getting after it weekly, putting on free events, getting people together, small community. You get that sense of purpose, that accountability of having a teammate saying, hey man, let's go do some movement together.
Yeah.
And it's everything from running to CrossFit to cycling to yoga, just about anything you'd want to get into. There's an option for that. And if you find yourself in a location where you're not near a chapter, maybe it's a little bit too far for your friend to drive, we have an incredible digital community where you can get online through our application, Team RWB. You can find it in all the stores, the app stores. And there's fitness challenges. There's a little bit of a social media feel. So you have that community online that so many people are getting used to these days. It's a very positive environment. And we try to provide not only our veterans, but our active duty, our Guard, Reserve, our family members, and all those civilian supporters this free opportunity to get together, move with a purpose, and continue to get after it each day.
Yeah. I've done content with other leaders in the Team RWB organization. I've heard this story before, but just briefly, describe to people, you, Irwin, Pinter, Blaine, describe how this idea was conceived and why both the potential and the need for this type of organization was originally conceived.
Sure. So the RWB story I kind of feel is my story, personally as well. So Mike Irwin and I served together in 1st Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group back in 2008 and 2009. He was an intelligence officer, I was a company commander of a bunch of Green Berets, and we had a great rotation to Afghanistan where we became very close through that crucible of combat, but also just we did some great things together. Mike left the unit after that to go to graduate school to prepare for a professor job at West Point. He was going to go teach at his alma mater, and while he was at the University of Michigan, he reached out to the VA and was the local VA and said, hey, I think I need to do something for those folks that are transitioning back from Iraq and Afghanistan. This is the height of two wars, 2009, 10. And I'm curious, what is it that veterans, new veterans, are struggling with? And what was described to him then is what we continue to talk about now, is this transition drift. You leave the service and it's like ripping off a big Band-Aid in your life. You lose that sense of purpose, that you got every day. I mean, you were told what to do, like what your purpose was, your mission each and every day, wherever you served. You had that sense of community, right? You had people on your right and left helping you do those things each and every day. You were required to move, right? Everybody had physical training at the start of each day. It was a part of what made you who you are as a service member. Whether you liked it or not, you were made to do it. And all of that stuff literally goes away overnight, right? When you step away from the service. So you have these veterans that are now moved away from that community. They find themselves maybe home at, they're or a new community, or maybe just off base trying to figure their way out. And those folks at the VA told Mike, like, if you could solve for that, that would be incredible. Mike was a big runner, very much into physical fitness, and the idea was, well, what if we build a community, around this idea that we, create a team environment, bring you into this idea that you have a community of veterans, active duty, guard, reserve, family members that are all welcome, all free, civilian community members as well, because we want those people that part of your new community be part of this smaller community. And you continue to do meaningful movement that keeps you active and fit. And let's make it fun. Like, it's not 6:30, face right, and like jog for like 1,000,000 miles, right? Or a forced ruck march. Let's do some fun things that people will enjoy. But it will give you those meaningful relationships, kind of start to return, right? You're not isolated. It keeps you off the couch, right? And kind of, veterans tend to think, hey, I get to choose for myself now, and I'm going to choose not to get up every morning and work out. You do that enough times, that habit becomes the norm, and then, like, aches and pains start to get worse. All those other things.
Run. That's something that I've recently got back in the running.
Oh yeah.
And it's something like when you haven't run for so long, you run a mile and it's like, oh, you get done, you're like, that must have been 5 miles, and you look at Strava and it's only been a mile, your lungs feel like about to burst.
Still
but
counts.
you get in that habit, and like 3 months later, you wake up with that itch to run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Which is, what's funny is I was in the Marine Corps, you're looking for every reason to not have to run,
Right, yeah,
but when you get out, that sense of purpose, that sense of moving your body, the body likes to be exhausted, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think once you achieve that high, you keep on trying to pursue it.
Absolutely. So Mike embraced that. It's this whole idea that community and movement is like medicine, right?
Yeah.
It's going to keep you physically, you're going to get the endorphin hit. You're going to start to be like, man, this is pretty good. I can't wait to see Sully next Wednesday for the next 5K, See what he's been up to, see what I've been up to. You get to work through all that stuff. And then what that tends to have a very positive impact on is your mental health as well, right? I mean, you have people you can count on, that you had previously. You got a sense of purpose because you got this thing that you're doing each and every day for yourself and for others. And it really starts to move the ball forward. So Mike got it going. About 6 months into it, he called me. I was obviously still on active duty. I was at the Special Warfare Training Center in school as the operations officer, and he's like, hey, Sully, I need you to start this at Fort Bragg. We're going to have chapters all around the big installations and in every major town. I'm going to send you a box of the red T-shirts. He goes, figure it out. He goes, this thing. I go, so what is this organization? He goes, it's not really an organization, it's a movement, and we're going to keep it that way. You're going to start spreading that eagle fire. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but let's do it. And Mike also said, hey, Sully, like, you're going to need this more than anybody else. Like, I don't know when your career is going to be over. I mean, this was, 13 years prior to me actually getting out of the service. He goes, but being a part of this community now as an active duty member is going to help you, one, embrace all the fun things you like to do outside of like the forced PT hour. And then two, it's going to give you that community to plug right into when you step out of the uniform.
Yeah.
So let's start working on that now, both for like the community we both want to take care of, but also for yourself.
Right.
So yeah, I was all in.
Now, with the last name Sullivan, did you choose, did Sully come naturally, or was it just bestowed upon you because every person with the last name Sullivan in the military, I think ends up getting Sully?
Probably both. I mean, I had it my whole life,
okay.
From sports to college.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of veterans, when they get out of the military, they struggle with identity, right? Because it's one of those things like you are in the military, and then you get out, and you are a veteran. And I've noticed that with a lot of veterans, their success in transition depends on if they root being a veteran as in what they used to be,
Right.
or as in what they currently are, right? And I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
but like,
it totally does.
yeah, a lot of veterans, they just kind of almost, they struggle with that transition of being, okay, I am a veteran now. I used to be in the military, but what I am now is a veteran, and that's the value that I bring. How does Team RWB kind of help veterans maybe with that transition, helping them sort of embrace this new season of their life?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's unique about RWB as a veteran service organization is we don't see ourselves as an organization that exists to take care of veterans and to help them with their problems. We see this as an organization that provides veterans an opportunity to do something,
Yeah.
right? To be a part of the organization. Like every member is a volunteer the way I see it, right?
Sure.
If you're going to show up on a Thursday to go walk 45 minutes with a friend, like that is an active service on your part, even though maybe you're getting just as much out of it like physically as the friend you're walking with, right? So, I mean, that is the key. We do not victimize the veteran, right? Your contribution as a service member can't be taken away. Like it is an honor for what you did for this country. Now, as you take that forward, what we encourage our veteran population to look at themselves is that, hey, the service gave you skills to deal with some of the life's like hardest challenges, right?
Yeah.
You understand what it means to be a good team leader. You understand what it means to lead. You understand what it means to get like probably horrible guidance and turn that into like an amazing product.
Yeah.
Like take those skills and continue to build on that. That's who you are as a veteran. Like you're one of the most valuable resources the country has to offer. But there is like this responsibility that you continue to take care of yourself and those around you, because that's all a piece of it, right? It is a team effort, and I think that's the key that we try to impart on our veteran community.
I'm glad you brought up that part about taking guidance, turning into something, because something we saw a lot in the sort of dog days, if you will, of the two wars we were in. Veterans are getting out, they're struggling with finding employment, they're struggling with finding that next stage in life. And I found a lot of people were like, oh, just you're a natural leader, go in there. Something that veterans often forgot was we were even better followers, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that it took a while, I think, for the effort to help veterans with transition emphasize that part of their capabilities too. Like, yeah, you're a natural born leader, you've done that, in the military. But not everybody's hiring for a leader. Some people are hiring for a really great follower. So being able to like be that part of taking that guidance, taking the bad task and turning it into a productive one. Team RWB, I maybe discovered it when I was in post-military, when I was in college, so maybe like 2013, 14.
Yeah.
It was one of the contemporary VSOs to come out. Team Rubicon, Mission Continues. These are some of the other orgs that were kind of getting big, and I kind of find it a little synonymous with our era, our generation. But I know there's a lot of Vietnam era veterans that are involved in Team RWB, and I'm sure that you're thinking about the new age veteran, the contemporary veteran.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at, okay, this was rooted in Iraq and Afghanistan veterans looking for something new, but we're an organization that's bigger than that for all veterans. How do you ensure that both your mission and your outreach is crossing all those generations?
Yeah, I mean that's the challenge, right? Like, and I think we're kind of at an inflection point right now in terms of, and this is a conversation I've had with other leaders of other VSOs, because especially the contemporary ones, we're all in the same situation. We're a little bit unique because we were always open to everybody, right? Some only focus on that post 9/11 GWAT veteran, right? Yeah. That's their mission, and that's great, right? That's who they're taking care of. And there's organizations, just like there's organizations that take care of Vietnam veterans and the like. But we are at a point where, like, and I have a unique situation where I have the 5th generation in my family. I have twins that are both serving in the Army right now as captains. And when I talk to them about, like, how do you guys identify, the world would say that you guys are, GWAT service members still, because it continues. You're post 9/11 service members because you are technically serving post 9/11.
Right.
Does that resonate with you? And both of them will say, no, not really, Dad. That's your generation. Like, I know there's things going on that I could get involved in that would be tied to the global war on terror. I don't see myself in that same category as an Afghanistan or Iraq war, or you pick one of the other smaller conflicts, right? And I was like, well, that's a problem. And then I'm like, well, would you guys like join RWB? And they're like, well, it's kind of for you guys, you know. You guys created it for these, you know, veterans that were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that were having a lot of trouble. And I'm like, okay, that's a big issue because we want to be here forever, right? So creating an environment where that new veteran sees themselves in the veteran service organization, or even like worthy, is I think something that we have to address with this next generation or this current generation of veterans that are coming out of the service right now. You know, a lot of them joined wanting to do what their parents did or what they saw, right? And that didn't happen potentially. Some are in it right now, right? So there's going to be a group of combat veterans that are coming back, but it's different. I think we need to allow the space for them to identify for themselves who they are. I mean, if there's no conflict and like they say, well, I'm just an Army veteran, it's like take the just out of it. Yeah. You're an Army veteran. I mean, you'll never see a Marine say he's a veteran. You'll just say I'm a Marine, right? It's the best culture on the planet, right? But I think we do need to like lean into this and try to figure it out because like for RWB, like sustainability for the long haul means new members each and every day. And that means that next generation's coming in for themselves, finding that community that they're gonna need just like anybody else. Because it doesn't matter if you went to combat or not. That stuff I mentioned earlier about the life Band-Aid getting ripped off that last day in service and the uniform comes off, it's the same if you spent the last 4 years in the Army or the previous like 30 years like I did. Like your experience of leaving that community is gonna be the same. And we want to be here for that. So it's a conversation we're having right now. I don't know if we haven't figured it out. We're definitely leaning back into the idea that, hey, active duty community, like your veteran journey actually started the day you entered the service, not the day you're going to get out of the service. And let's, you know, here's a community that's here for you now, so it's here for you later. Yeah. I think some of that's going to help us with this next generation, but it's something that we all need to kind of address so they don't get lost because they self-assess out because they don't think they're deserving. Yeah.
They said that Band-Aid rip-off, I mean, it happens more subtly than I think you anticipate when you're in the military. I only served 5 years, but I remember landing in the airport. It must have been in Sacramento, I think. I remember landing when I was starting my terminal leave, and already felt different. Like I can almost think and revisit that feeling of like, oh, what is this? Like this already feels different, and it's not something. It doesn't matter how many times people can be like, you need to be prepared. It's hard to prepare for the emotional side of what's going to happen there.
Absolutely.
Do you think that? Does modern media, and I guess I'll call modern media like social media, short form content, the way that the digital age has evolved into the year that we're in now, 2026, does it make it easier because there's such a high leverage platform, or do you think that those platforms are so saturated it's hard to actually get in front of that veteran?
I think it makes it harder. Yeah, there's just so much noise, right? And you know, and then you kind of get caught in your own echo chamber of your algorithm. So you can fall for the fact that like, oh, everybody's seeing this stuff and I have all this positive stuff in my feed. I don't see why everyone's not doing RWB and enjoying everything out there, right? And it's just hard to break through that noise, right? And but it's the world today. Like ignoring it is also the wrong way to address it as well. It could be a positive force for change. It really can, but it's gonna take folks addressing it that way and continue to kind of fight the good fight. You know, we're excited that our app has a bit of a social media feel, but it's very positive. There's no algorithm that's forcing you to see things. There's no advertisements. So you get in there and you kind of get that dopamine hit every day when you're seeing somebody, you know, post about their 5K or post about something they ate that was really healthy last night, or you know they're going to take on the sleep health challenge that we're going to put on next month. You know, it's things like that motivate you. It's just then how do we get outside of this really cool place back into that echo chamber, that noise, and break through to kind of like tell our story. And it's just, hey, you just got to do it each and every day, right? That's the mission now. It's difficult, right? And then it's also difficult for veterans in terms of a time, even with what's going on right now, you know, there's not two massive wars going on. It's not on the normal news every day. There's other things that are very important to this nation that we need to address, you know. Veteran health is definitely one of those things, right? But it's maybe not the thing that was forefront that it was maybe 10 years ago. So doesn't mean that we deserve more airtime. It just means we got to be aware of that as we work through this to really get the mission going forward.
So so veteran wellness. You're in town because Stars and Stripes is putting on a health symposium. I already got the name wrong. I made sure I knew it coming into this, and then I forgot the official title. But it's a health symposium, health and wellness symposium. There we go. A member of VA is going to be there to talk, to give VA's perspective on it. You said it's not discussed as much, right? But I remember 2014. There was a lot of media coverage on veterans are struggling with employment, veterans are struggling with mental health, veterans are struggling with a sense of community. Do you feel like how many, 10 plus years later, that it's not as actively talked about because we almost fool ourselves into believing that we've solved the problem, or we've just moved past that being the big topic in the veteran space?
I don't think we've moved past it, and I think those are three of the biggest topics still in the veteran space,
okay.
And things that we're still trying to solve. Right? They're evergreen problems. Like health and wellness is never something we're going to solve for. It's something that you got to do every single day, right? And other days, some days you're going to miss, some days you're going to create bad habits, and then you got to get back to doing the hard things. Unfortunately, there's no magic pills. There's no magic thing, that's going to fix all your problems overnight. It's just you're going to have to continue to work on it, right? So it's just a matter of maintaining that positive discussion about what we're doing to move things forward. I think is where we need to be. I would say my feeling in the past 10 years, and one of the things coming in as the executive director at RWB is our narrative is definitely not a victimization narrative. We actually, again, believe your service truly gave you some incredible skills, some incredible times in your life, and that's why it's so difficult when you move on. It's not because it damaged you, it's because it really was an incredible part of your life. And we lean into that. We also believe that veterans aren't this thing that need to be taken care of, right? They need to be given opportunities. They're a unique group of people that have a unique skill set, best team members you're ever gonna have, right? You put a group of veterans together on a problem, they're gonna figure it out and come together to give way together to make something happen, as you mentioned earlier. And I think that's the narrative that we gotta continue to push forward and lean into creating opportunities to allow veterans to be a part of the solution for their health and wellness, for employment, all the things that we're trying to solve for. And it's gonna continue, right? And it doesn't go away. There's new veterans every single day that have the same challenges, as they transition into their civilian community. But it's empowering them for something positive, is that I think is the narrative that we really want to lean into, and not this idea that when you say the veteran word out loud, well, you're probably talking about suicide, homelessness, unemployment, when in fact the majority of us are out there contributing, doing great things for the nation still, and we just want to make sure that, hey, we got to continue to solve for those folks that deserve that same opportunity, post-service.
Yeah, I left out veteran homelessness in that list, but that definitely has also been sort of unfortunately, it has been something that's been top of mind in the veteran community for quite a while, preceding our generation for sure. I have a question for you that I used to ask on a podcast that I did years ago that I really enjoy. Can you tell me about either a good friend or a great leader that you had in the military?
Man.
You can take a moment to.
I've had a lot of both.
Yeah. A
lot of both,
but I think
some were both.
We're still. I think the reason I love this question is people always want to hear about our service, right? What did you do in the military? What But the things we take away from the military are the people we served with, right? And we remember our comrades. We remember that leader who told us that one thing that we live by for the rest of our lives, right? Or exemplified leadership in a way that we want to emulate. And so I'm always curious what examples others have on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature of the work I did as a Green Beret and being on small teams, and the majority of that force being led, and the execution is by these incredible non-commissioned officers, right? So it's almost, it wouldn't be a leader that was leading down. It was probably somebody that was technically was leading up, because I was an officer and they were a non-commissioned officer. But when I was a company commander in the Special Forces, my company sergeant major, a guy named Ben Inderbitson, probably one of the best guys you'll ever meet in your life. just down to earth, and routinely was probably one of the best leaders in my life in terms of understanding who I was, what I was passionate about, and then how he could help me channel that to like take care of not only getting after the mission, but taking care of the guys. Like loyal as the day is long, but like would always give me the best advice in terms of, you know, his little technique was if he saw me like typing angry an email, like especially when we were downrange on a rotation, he's like, "Hey sir, I need to check your grammar because you're horrible when you type, and your spelling is all over the place, and who's that going to?" And I was like, "Oh, the battalion commander. This is the best email I ever wrote. He needs to know what's going on out here." He's like, "I got you. We're gonna get that. Let me proofread it." And I was like, "Thanks, Ben." He would jump on, and like twice he did this to me, and you think I would have learned after the first time. He read it, deleted the email, and looked at me. He's like, "Do you feel better?" And I was like, "No, I wanted to send that." He goes, "No, you didn't. Like you wouldn't have been taking care of yourself or the guys if you would have sent that email. That was a little bit selfish. You know, you got to embrace your humility, embrace the fact that, you know, a good team member is not going to like shoot that off. The battalion commander has bigger issues than what you're seeing right now, you know, and by taking that moment to like educate me on what was going on, do it in a manner that like he understood how I would receive it, you know, best leader that I probably ever worked with, and one of my best friends.
Yeah, you know, us NCOs we gotta keep you officers
Absolutely.
straight sometimes. Yeah. So, veterans, how do we as a community, how do you as an organization, or as a impose on veterans that their wellness is something they have to be proactive about, right? And I know that Team RWB offers them the opportunity to be proactive about it, but does Team RWB, or even just you personally, how do you impose on that veteran that, like, hey, not only are we here if you want to be active and take care of your wellness, but here's why we think you need to prioritize it. Like, how are you proactive on the mission versus just being available for those looking for it, if that question makes sense?
No, I think it does. I mean, the biggest challenge is you got to get the veteran, or really anybody, when it comes to your own personal health and wellness and taking care of yourself the right way, is to choose themselves, right? So they got to see value in themselves first, and then understand that they're going to have to choose like themselves, which is a little bit different like aspect to what we experience in the service, right? Where, you know, you're told like, you know, I think they've maybe shifted around, at least in the Army, but like mission first, people always, you know, this idea that you always put everything else ahead of yourself to make sure that you're going to accomplish everything. We pull back a little bit and like, hey, you get to choose yourself now, but you need to, like, you have to make this decision, right? We can't force people to do the challenges in the app, hey, do the sleep health challenge and do all these things because sleep is so important. But encouraging them to choose the opportunity to take that on, and then, you know, hopefully it helps, you know, and then continuing to have the conversation either in person, ideally, at chapter events with a buddy, with a teammate that's doing the same thing with Team RWB, or online. We can continue to work on that stuff. You know, and it's just being honest with folks. Like you just got to be honest that, hey, it's there's not going to be, you know, there's easy days and it's fun days, and there's a way to do it that you can enjoy it. But you're going to have to continue to move, right? It's the one medicine that's out there, but you really need to embrace it. And having a community that's there for you, and knowing again that you have somebody on your left and right, I think that's what makes it easier. And I think that's the secret to Team RWB, right? It's the reason why when folks are like, hey, Sully, I don't even understand why you guys need to exist. Like, just tell people, get out and work out every day. Like, you know, I see your videos online, Sully. You're always by yourself in the gym. You seem motivated. Why don't you just tell veterans to do that? You know, but what they don't see is the fact that the reason why I'm in the gym is I want to live the mission. I want to be an example to other veterans. I want other people to see it. So I never feel like I'm in the gym alone. You know, I'm in the gym for my family, who I want to be around for the next 40 years, holding my grandkids, right? You know, that's the mission moving forward, right? Is to enjoy all the stuff that I put in the work for while I was in the service. Now it's my opportunity to enjoy that, but I got to continue to like do the work so I can move and do those things, right? So that's the key. It's hard, you know. There's some folks that they think choosing themselves is, well, I'm just going to sit on the couch. You know, I have my retirement, or my benefits are, you know, great. I really don't need to do anything. I can just isolate here and do these things. And unfortunately, that's not what we need. Like, we as people, we need that social connection. We need that sense of purpose. it's good to have a sense of accountability, both from other people on you and to be there for somebody else, to be that for somebody else, and then just to move every day.
That accountability, even if it's unspoken, right?
Yeah.
When I was a Marine security guard when I was in for a little bit, guarded embassies. I was in Algiers, Algeria, it was me and like 4 or 5 other Marines, right? And we decided to do what we called a breakfast run. We'd go on a long run in the city, come back, have breakfast with everybody. And we get to the meetup spot at 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. It's me and I think 3 other Marines. Every one of us griped, right? And there's no one there to tell us we have to do this, right? We all were like, I don't want to do this. It's too early. I'm tired. I'm sore, whatever. And then we started running. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's because any one of us individually probably would have been like, no, I'm not doing that today. But because we all got up and showed up because we know the other 3 were going to be there, and we were already there, we knew it was important, we knew we had to do it, and we easily could have been like, not today, and there's no one that would have held us accountable or told us that we did something wrong. But we still went on that run because we knew it was important, and now it was like an unspoken, no one said, okay, let's go. We just started running.
Yeah.
What is something about veteran wellness that you think and you mentioned sleep, and I think this is a good example.
Yep.
What is something about veteran wellness that you think is either misunderstood or maybe even oversimplified, whichever one you think is easier to address?
I'm biased. The sleep definitely is. I think that's one of the most important things we're all learning, right? And I think coming out of the service, we don't take care of that well. Especially my community, special operations community. You're a warrior if you can stay up 3 nights straight. Whether you're in the operations center or out on target. Great job. Don't realize what that's doing to you down the road. That's not everybody's experience, but I think all of us, even America, is not sleeping well. But I would say fitness, physical fitness, is what I think is most misunderstood. And I think for us, it's not this idea that you have to crush yourself, or some people get, oh, RWB, you guys are running marathons and doing these CrossFit events and Spartan races. I'm not ready for that. There is this misnomer that just 40 minutes of a brisk walk each day, that could be enough, right? That could be enough for you. And if you start doing it with a couple other people, might turn into a jog. It might turn into something else. Maybe we should get on bikes and do something different, Or did you hear about this yoga thing? Let's try that out, because I'm not very flexible. But I think there's this idea that fitness is unattainable for some folks, especially maybe if you allowed that transition drift to happen out of service, or it's not fun. It can't be, something that, because of what a lot of people, 6:30 in the morning, face right and do a long run or a ruck march or do push-ups till your arms feel like they're going to fall off. That's not what people want to do the minute they take the uniform off, right? They want to take that break. But again, I think it's just the magic of fitness is overlooked. Yeah. Despite the science, people want to dismiss it, the data that exists. They're yeah, it's great, but I really think what we need to do is all these other things. And I'm just this firm believer that if a baseline of just some daily movement, some just daily fitness is going to help all those other things to fall into place. It is just a foundation that I think we gloss over, and we're always looking for the easy button, and unfortunately it doesn't exist. And we continue to lean into it.
Yeah. So as the leader of Team RWB, how do you measure success? Is it participation? Is it veterans just expressing how much they love it? How, in this type of organization, how are you measuring success?
Yeah, so it's difficult, right? So there's different audiences that we have to talk about ourselves to. With the folks that want to fund the mission and get after it, they want to see that return on investment, and they want to see how are you doing that? What does the data show, especially in the data-centric world that we find ourselves in? And we have the ways of looking at the self-assessed score that we have everybody do through our Enriched Life Survey when you join, and we ask people to do that a couple times a year. And we like to see that you're trending upwards, and and it's a self-assessment of your physical, your mental, your sense of purpose, and your sense of belonging. So we hope everybody's kind of trending up. If you need a lot of help, hopefully you're trending up a little bit faster, and then maybe if you're at the top and you feel really good about yourself, you're maintaining that through the community. So we look at that kind of data, in terms of we can show we're having this great impact in terms of these scores. and we're always looking to advance that. Like, with our application, we're going to bring in wearables, and that's going to give us more data in terms of how people are in terms of their health. For us, like anecdotally, it really is like at the local level when somebody says like, I was kind of lost, or I just got out and I didn't know how I was going to plug into my new community, and I found Team RWB, and I showed up for a Wednesday at a park, and I went on a walk, or I went on that first jog, and I got to meet somebody new, and I knew next Wednesday that person was going to be there for me to talk about my week and find out what was going on. Like, those are the stories I think personally is like what it's all about. Like, if you have, whether it's one service member, one veteran, a family member, a community member, because it's free to everybody, that those stories is what kind of motivates me to like, hey man, we got to get this thing to like grow. Like, let's get this going. Like, we could have such a major impact, not just in veterans' lives, but just communities' lives when people come together and move together. Like, that's what really kind of motivates me. And you hear about that stuff all the time. And I think that's where we really see our success. I mean, we're putting on like 19,000 events annually. We last year ran a flag across America in 16 days with veterans to prove that veterans aren't broken. Like, no one's attempted it yet. And I dare them to try to run a flag at a 43 pace for 16 days, day and night, from the deck of the aircraft carrier in San Diego to the GWAT Memorial in DC. I mean, that was epic. Like, that kind of stuff is like, and those are veterans. It wasn't just like elite athletes. These are just folks that 3 of them or 4 of them were Purple Heart recipients. So it's just those stories like motivate me in terms of being the executive director and seeing our impact and success. And then it's just continuing to see like those 20 new members join every day and download the app. The old members that have been around for 15 years, talking to that brand new veteran who just got out, and sharing their story. Like, all of that stuff is, I think how we measure success at RWB, and we hope to continue to do it.
Yeah. One of the participants that ran Old Glory across the country, one of VA's own, a woman that works in our benefits administration.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see a member of VA participate in that.
Yeah,
epic
she's
run.
an absolute beast.
Yeah.
Like, she's still crushing ultramarathons
Absolutely.
on the daily. But yeah, that was just about a year ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were getting ready to start, and a lot of people thought we weren't going to succeed. I knew with a group of veterans, it wasn't like if we were going to get there, it was when.
So if someone watching this was like my friend that I was texting yesterday, they've never heard of Team RWB, they're interested, how do they find a local chapter? And if there's not a local chapter, how do they participate?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way to find us is, you could Google Team RWB or Team Red, White, and Blue, or you just put into your browser teamrwb.org, and that will take you right to our landing page and our website. And you're going to see the first thing, the big button there is like Join Today. And that's going to take you to the opportunity to download our application, either iOS or on your Android phone, right? And we're on both systems. Or you can do it right there on your computer. It's web-based as well.
Okay.
You go through a process of just verifying your service. We just ask, there's no like real hard process to it. We ask you to take the Enriched Life Scale to kind of get your first self-assessment of where you think you're at, and then you're in. There's a map on the website, and both in the app, you'll be immediately, based on your zip code, assigned to the nearest chapter. And if you're not assigned to the nearest chapter, you're assigned to your state, because maybe like there's a state coordinator, but we don't have a chapter captain near you. The great thing about it is we've embraced this idea of the digital community years ago. So our application provides you immediate plug-in. Like day one, you're going to have a group of people welcoming you to the community. You can see what's going on. I would challenge anybody, if there's something they're into, cycling, CrossFit, high rocks, running, walking, rucking, you're going to find a small group in the app that you can immediately plug into, and you can have that digital group of folks. And then there's challenges galore that's going to like kind of jumpstart your mission, whether it's walking a mile a day, whether it's this upcoming sleep challenge. Last year we did a great challenge with the Veteran Affairs in terms of like a warrior wellness challenge. Yeah. Those things happen, each and every month. We have monthly missions that encourage you to move with a purpose. Next month for Memorial Day, we're doing Memorial Minutes, and from the 1st to the 25th of May, we are going to attempt as a community to do 1.3 million minutes of exercise in those first 25 days of May to represent the 1.3 million plus that gave their lives for this nation over 250 years. So we'll have like big epic events like that about 4 times a year for you to participate in. So I just say go to teamrwb.org, download the app, and start moving. Ideally, there's a chapter near you, and if there's not, get a friend, do some of the stuff that's in the app, and then reach out. We can get a chapter going. You could become an Eagle leader, and you could have your own chapter right near you.
Great.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, I do have an alibi question.
Okay.
What is one of the more unique activities you've seen Team RWB members organize around? So not just like one-off, but like have you heard of a chapter like, oh, that chapter does like paddle boarding, or like what was there any activity where you're like, oh, that's a cool way to get together?
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's unique. Pickleball is becoming like very
Sure,
popular,
okay.
right? So you see more Eagles out there with their paddles, trying to get their rankings on pickleball. We're a huge rucking community, but that just seems obvious,
Yeah.
We've always been a running community. I don't know. I don't think there's anything we don't do.
Okay.
We have a great partnership with like Spartan Race, and you'll see a bunch of Eagles out doing their first, mud run or a obstacle run, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I love those events because those are like team events. Like to get over some of those obstacles, you're going to need a couple other Eagles to help you, and that's what we're all about. It's not doing something individually; it's doing it together. So we love to see that. And yeah, I don't know. There's probably just about anything that you could think of when it involves movement. You're going to find an Eagle wearing that T-shirt, knocking it out.
Yeah. Great. Sully, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
man. I really appreciate you coming by and making time for this conversation. I think it's important for veterans to hear the leaders in our community talking about opportunities that they can get off the couch and take care of themselves. And I think veteran wellness, like you said, maybe not making headlines, but still very, very much a priority within our community. And thank you to you for watching. Appreciate your time. And until next time, I'm Timothy Lawson. Take care.